Good morning, theater fans. Welcome to another episode of Stage Door, a theater podcast hosted by a couple of average guys. We are specifically a theater podcast that is for the Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan area, and that includes the Stranahan Theater National Tour that's coming through, and today we get to talk to Mariah Burks. She is a member of the cast of Clue that is coming to the Stranahan here. And she's actually from Ohio, which is always a bonus. We always like Ohioans. But even better, she went to Bowling Green State University, which, of course, we're very happy about. But she also performed with Waterville Playshops and 3B Productions doing Hairspray. I think it was Hairspray, she said. And then she also did Seussical, the musical. So if you guys are in those shows, you might have actually performed with Mariah already. So how cool is that? Let's get her on the phone.
Hello.
Hi, Mariah. How you doing? It's Kyle with Stage Door.
Hey, Kyle, I'm doing really well. How are you?
Wonderful. So I was very excited. First of all, I went and friended you on Instagram, and the first thing I saw is that you follow 3B Productions.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh. So we have a local fan who's following somebody who obviously is a local fan of our theater too. So that's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
The history is strong, and I mean, the world is also tiny.
It is. So I actually got a message from the person with the theater league who was telling me, hey, you know what? I think we got somebody who's associated with the area somehow. And I was like, really? Who? And she didn't tell me who. She just sent you the information, obviously, and then sent it to me. And then I saw you went to Bowling Green State University. And I thought that is very, very cool that you are at least aware of a little Northwest Ohio then.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we like to talk on this show about the show obviously coming up, but we really like to talk about you as a person, how you became who you are and what you're doing. Is that okay?
Oh, God, yes.
Are you okay talking about yourself? Some people aren't.
Yes.
Some people are like, no, not me. I don't want to talk. I'm not. But we got
over the years, I've gotten more confident. So
good,
yes,
good. Let's promote yourself a little bit out there, right? Yeah. I mean, nobody knows who you are until you tell them who you are. That's the way I feel.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So let's talk about your young self. It looks like you were Cleveland native, is what I read. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, born and raised in Cleveland.
Like what part of Cleveland? Wish I had my Cleveland guys here hosting with me. They bailed on me today.
Oh no! That would have been awesome.
Nah, it's okay. It happens.
Yeah, Northeast Ohio mainly, but specifically like in the West Side area.
West Side.
Ohio City, Gordon Square Arts District, but also I spent time on the East Side as well. So like I've experienced multiple facets of Greater Cleveland.
You're a hardcore Clevelander, then it sounds like.
Oh yes.
Are you unfortunately a Browns fan, or did that seep into you?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I have full respect for Brownies. I really do.
Oh yes.
Because it's like, I mean, talk about tenacity and talk about still doing the thing you love despite.
100%.
Like, I feel like you have to actually, like, care, like actually have a care to keep doing the thing that you love to do regardless of how it looks to other people. Yeah. So
I'm always like, who would want to be a Browns fan? You think those fans choose to be? They have no choice. It's in their blood. They can't
It's in their DNA.
Yeah, they can't help it. They would love to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan and watch them win Super Bowls all the time, but that's not the way it works, okay? That's not the way it works. Yeah. When you're a Clevelander, you are a Clevelander, okay?
Yes,
you root for this team, whether they are great or not. That's cool. So when you started growing up, were you always interested in theater? Were you like a little baby 4-year-old and everybody was like, oh my gosh, she's a phenom, and got you into it? How did you start doing this?
So, according to my mom, I started singing at 2.
Okay.
Which I think is completely believable. I look at my nieces who are 3 and 6, and they had been singing like between the ages of like those like 2 and 6. So like just knowing that you have a voice, that it can be used, it can be loud, it can be soft, whatever. But I sung in choir as a toddler with my 2 older sisters. And by the time I turned 7, I started like doing one-woman shows like on my own, and like not even really composed of anything that made sense, because when you're 6 or 7 years old, nothing makes sense.
No.
So you're just sort of going with the flow of your environment. So I'm, putting on my siblings' shoes or putting on my mom's clothes and things like that. And I think it got to a point where both my parents were like, so she's got a lot of energy.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
She's got a lot to say. She's got a lot to show.
Let's harness this somehow.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, both my parents are huge advocates of the arts. My
Awesome.
mom did cotillions, talent shows. My dad was a high school All-American sports guy who also sung and came from a family of singers. And so it just sort of fell in line, I guess.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I turned 8 that I was introduced to a wonderful, wonderful theater organization in Cleveland, Ohio called Near West Theater, who's thriving to this day.
Nice.
I think I want to say they're over like almost pushing 50 years being established. And I did my first show when I was 8 years old, and it was Annie. I was not Annie, although I wanted to be. But
not your first show. You're not going to walk on the stage, Mariah. Just get Annie right away. Okay, settle down. Okay, we know you're amazing.
I knew my potential. I was just giving them time. I was giving them time to catch
let them
up.
figure it out. Exactly. It's like, I'm just going to walk on. I'm going to be American Idol right away. It's like, no.
It'll be gravy.
Yeah.
but we did the show.
What were you
and,
in the show then? You were just an orphan?
I was one of the orphans,
Well,
yeah. But the thing about it though was that that was the first time I was solo.
Yeah. Oh, were you the at the top of the Chrysler building? Was that you? Were you that one?
No. I had one of my lines was it was like, no one cares if your dreams at night get creepy. No one cares if you grow or if you shrink. So it was that line. But
nice.
The terrible part about it, the double-edged sword, was that I actually lost my voice during that show. And that was the first time I experienced like artistic loss. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, this is a nightmare. Is this really happening to me? But, perseverance was learned. Taking care of my body and my voice was learned at a very young age. So
8 years old, they're like, you need to start drinking some lemon tea. Okay. And baby your voice on vocal, days.
Vocal rest. Yep.
Yeah. Don't just scream every time when you're out of rehearsal. That just means you go out and start screaming at the game. Okay. Settle down.
Right.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. Yeah. That's funny though, because you're right. Luckily you learned that early though, right? You learned, hey man.
Yes.
Yes. And then you did that, and then were you hooked immediately? Were you like, oh my gosh, this is it?
Oh God, yes. Yeah, it was fairly immediate. I mean,
even though you were mortified and horrified and everybody because your voice was gone, you were still like, I still love this.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it was giving like slam poetry the way I had to deliver the line, but we made it work. We totally made it work. But I was completely hooked. I mean, I got into an environment where I saw other kids who looked like me. I saw other kids my age. I also saw preteens and teenagers and grown people who were volunteering their time to tell a story, to be amongst other community members who were different from them, and just spend this moment in a very unique space and commit to showing up every single day and every night. And I don't know what that was, but it was like, this is another dynamic of what family can be. And I come from a very big family and very family oriented. And it's no surprise to me that I end up in, large spaces with large groups of people. But when it's something so special that you get to create with people and you can cherish, how you created things and how you get to share it with, complete strangers in a dark room, it just felt right. And it went on, and I had not stopped performing since then.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it? It really is. When you get in this environment, you're like, wait a minute. You love theater as much as I love theater? And you love theater? And you're my age? And you're 57? And you're all here for free? Nobody's getting paid to be here? You all just love it and you just want to be here? Wow.
Yeah.
I love you guys. Yeah, it is amazing. It really is huge. I have a similar experience with theater as well. The same kind of thing. You go in there and you're like, wow, these are my peeps, man. I didn't know this is what was going on. I had no idea that this even existed last year. So now I'm here and going, what is happening? I love this kind of stuff. So then you're a little dink, obviously. Now you're bigger. You're starting. So now you're going to go off and you're going to start doing all these shows all the time. Was it a lot of that community theater stuff for a while?
Oh gosh, yes, it was. And honestly, like, I can't try to keep the mentality of my 8-year-old self with me at all times.
That's good.
And it just kept going in a way that I honestly didn't care what I was doing on stage. Like, I didn't necessarily crave to be a leading role, or like, I need to be in the center, or I need to have the funniest line to say, or whatever. I was like, just sign me up. Like, can I
That's
just come
great.
back in the space? Like, I just want to be here among all of you. I will say that did take a turn, when I started to really figure out my own voice and figure out how I love to storytell, and what that confidence was that I had when I was younger, and that I'm really reconnecting with now. Because I mean, you get into your adult years and you start, having society, sit on your neck, and you're like,
Yes.
oh, now I have to start changing things about myself. And so that really ebbed and flowed as I got older, but that did not change my love for it. So I stayed with community theater for up until this very day.
Nice.
And once I got out of high school, actually, before I got out of high school, I was really, faced with the challenge of, do I go to college? And if so, like, how do I make that possible with this choice
Right.
of career?
Yeah.
And I told my mom, I was like, I will literally sing on the sidewalk if that means that's going to get us like financial support so I can go and do this thing.
Wow.
Like, I was really committed to going with my own vision of myself. And this was me at like 17, 18 years old.
Right.
And that can be kind of hard to say out loud when you're a teenager, like the thing you really desire most and what you're willing to do to achieve it. Because it's like, you're just still trying to figure yourself out. You're trying to get through high school. You want to make sure you graduate, you got enough credits and all this other stuff. But I knew that it was something that wasn't just a hobby. It wasn't just a fun thing to do after work or after school.
What was it that made you think that way? Why'd you think like this is not going to be a fun hobby? Like, most people are like that. Most people are like, I'm having fun now. I'm going to graduate and I'm going to go be a psychology major. You didn't have that though, right? You had this totally different mentality. What made you say, that's it, I need to do this? I'm going to be on the street singing if I have to. What kind of energy? Like, where did that come from? Like, how did you think I need to do this?
I couldn't let it go. I could not let it go. There were so many times my mom and I had made this pact with each other, and she was like, listen, I really need you to focus on getting into college. I understand that you want to do theater and you've been doing a lot of community theater a lot. There was probably only maybe 2 years out of the time I started theater from when I was 8 to 18 where I was not on stage.
Oh. Like 2 years total?
Total,
yeah. Like, if you added up all the months together, it equaled 2 years. Yeah. Otherwise, you were in the show.
Otherwise, I was on stage.
You didn't take 2 years off and said, I'm not going to do stuff for 2 straight years.
No, just, bits and pieces here and there. But it got to a point where I'm like, I can't shake this. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't remove it from my daily activities. Right. Like, if there's anything else I'm thinking of other than like, what meal am I going to eat next and when am I going to see my bestie, like, it's theater. And so I realized at that point, I was like, this is something that's going to be with me for a long time, and I want to do it to the best of my ability. I don't even know what that looks like yet at 17 or 18, but we're going to try, and we're going to try hard.
Yeah.
And
did you go to like a special like performance school, or did you go to just a traditional school? No,
just a regular school. Yeah. I went to, so I started off, before I got to high school, I was in a junior high school on the east side of Cleveland called Whitney Young Junior High School. And then I went and moved to the suburbs of Cleveland, to North Royalton High School, public high school in the suburbs. Pretty, stereotypical, straightforward. Yeah. And I mean, that was that. I didn't have voice lessons. I didn't take private dance lessons. I didn't, like, everything that had ever come from me on stage was purely out of, one, probably DNA, yeah. Two, my environment of being around my family, being around my community of artists, and doing show choir and regular choir and doing band front. I'm a dancer, so like I made sure I kept that going while I was in high school. And it just, I don't know, it just kept evolving.
So you had traditional dance training as well, or no?
Yes and no. I started off dancing in church, and then
Man, this church is doing everything for you, aren't they? You're singing with them, you're dancing with them. So you did go to a non-traditional performing arts school. It was just your church.
It was non-traditional. I will say they were very supportive. They really were. And it got to a point where I had a feeling I was going to need more, quote unquote, formal training. Mm-hmm. But I also was like, I got a lot to give that isn't inside of these boxes. I just haven't tapped into it yet. And once I got into college, like a lot changed. I mean, I remember my first audition for a college was actually for Baldwin-Wallace University, which is a fairly prominent, prominent musical theater conservatory.
Everybody listening to this podcast knows Baldwin-Wallace. They all know it already. Right? Nobody's unfamiliar.
But like my whole family, my community, they were like, that's the place. This is the place she's going to thrive. This is where she needs to be. Mm-hmm. And I got rejected. And like that did more, damage to my mom's heart than it did mine. Right. And I was like, I don't feel it here. I don't feel connected here right now. And that's okay. I was like, that means something else is lined up. Not sure what it is, but that just means there's another opportunity somewhere else. And sure enough, I auditioned for BG's musical theater program. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I had ever witnessed and heard of a musical theater program that actually worked with you during your audition. And it was something that kind of changed the game, because it's like, if we think about, today's stereotypical audition, you go into a room, you say what your piece is, you do the deed, you get it done, you're out.
Yeah, you move out and you never hear from them again. Yeah.
And that wasn't the case.
Don't call us, we'll call you, that kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Right. But they took a few moments, really, and it was just those few moments that really turned it around for me, where it was like, oh, so you see me as a human being and not a product.
Right. Yeah.
You see me as somebody who has some integrity about herself, who actually loves, who's in love with what she's showing you right now. And it's not just me thinking I'm a star. Like, albeit, there were times I felt like it, and that's great too. But, I'm here to collaborate. Anything I've ever done in my career has always been on the forefront to collaborate with people, and to purely allow people the space and freedom to be their most creative selves, and we do it together. But yeah, and that was how things got kickstarted at BG, and it was a ride. It was a ride.
Yeah. Were those the only two places you auditioned for?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! You put all your eggs in the Baldwin-Wallace thing, and it didn't work, and then you threw all your eggs over in Bowling Green.
Sure did.
Wow. You were crazy. I'm just saying, you're crazy. That's not the way you do things when you go to colleges.
I prefer the term bold. The bold and the beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Not crazy? My bad. Yeah. You were bold,
I'm just saying, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's worth saying, that like if you have that tenacity, I mean, not everybody does, just because this industry has always been painted to be a dog-eat-dog situation, mm-hmm. where it's like you have to look out for number one. Nobody else is going to help you. And, you always have to watch out, look over your shoulder type of thing. And it's like, that's some hairy, scary stuff to try to tell a teenager.
Is that true? Is it a dog-eat-dog world, or, is it not as scary as people make it out to be?
It's not as scary as people make it out to be. And I also feel like as we evolve, as generations start shifting and people get older and folks start to leave the industry and new people come in, I think there's a different mentality and a different expectation that's being set as far as what type of atmosphere are you choosing to create when you walk into these rooms. Mm. And that goes for people behind the table and the people standing in front. If you're really, having my best interest at heart, I should feel that when I walk into the room, and vice versa.
Agreed.
I'm here, yeah.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. We hear a whole lot of directors like, well, when you walk in, we want you to be the greatest. And then they sit over there, little grumpy face the whole time. You're like, are you sure? Are you sure you want me to succeed? Because I'm getting a lot of vibes out of you right now. So, I agree with you. I was wondering on that too, because I feel like it's such a close-knit community of people, and you're like cutthroat and dog eat dog. It's like, I don't know, that seems like a terrible idea to be cutthroat in this industry, because people are going to remember that you were a jerk the last time they saw you.
Well,
do you want that? I wouldn't want that on me, because because it's an audition-based situation. And if you didn't like how I was the first time, you might not pick me the second time. I just kind of feel like that might be the way it is. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not in the industry. I'm just on a podcast, so I don't know what's going on. I tell you, the people I'm talking to, yourself and everybody else who's come on the show, I love your guys' personalities. You're always over the top and great, and I just enjoy speaking with you guys on this. So you had no choice. If you had to pick another career, it was like, I need to be a musical theater person. What could you have done? Do you know? Did you even have a fallback?
Yes. I wanted to become a drama therapist. So there is a world where you can have a hybrid of being able to incorporate theater education and drama-based psychological work. So if, sometimes people might correlate it to role playing, as far as like if you're in a group therapy session where it's like, hey, we're actually going to act out a certain situation with boundaries. We're going to talk about these things and put it up on its feet and see what we can explore. Let's, dive a little deeper into what your response was to this. Let's break it down here. I mean, really, when we think about that saying, that art is a reflection of life, and that, vice versa, that, we're really holding up a mirror to the human condition. And I was so fascinated by that, because I'm like, a lot of the stories that we see on stage, be it farce, be it tragedy, be it fiction or non, that this has come from somebody's human experience, be it they dreamt it or it actually happened. And so I think that it's worth digging into to better understand how we get from, I had this dream about this thing and I'm trying to figure out what it means, or I wrote this play and I don't know if it's me grieving or if I'm trying to celebrate something. So like, I don't know, it's all intersected. And I think it's really cool that we can have so many hybrid forms of ways to keep connecting with other people and to keep allowing people to express who they are or to find their people, whoever that may be. But yeah, I wanted to be a drama therapist.
That is deep. That's way deeper than
it is.
I was so glad you didn't say I wanted to be a psychology major, since I threw that out as like a joke earlier. I'm like, oh, a psychology major. Like, well, actually my fallback was psychology. Oops. Sorry. So when you graduate,
it's way more than that. It's way more than that. I have a dear friend of mine who's a licensed drama therapist, but they know much more than I.
Oh, well, that's because you're doing a performance. You didn't end up having to do the other thing. Exactly. So when you graduated from Bowling Green, you got it right away and you just became this huge star, right? Is that what happened? You got a job immediately and another job and people are beating down your door, right? That's how it works in the industry, right?
I mean, I think in a very lucid dream, probably, but what happened was that my junior year, I ended up being nominated for this program that BG participates in called the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival.
Oh, I've heard of the Kennedy Center, so that's been in the news lately too. So
right, yeah, this was pre now. Very pre now. And it was for a scholarship award called the Irene Ryan Acting Award. And I didn't realize that this scholarship, this festival competition or whatever, was both regional and national, which meant that they do it across the country. And so I ended up getting nominated, and we got to choose an acting partner to come to this competition. I legitimately thought it was a festival because that's in the name. It's a festival. And I was like, this is great. We can come in, we can celebrate each other, we can see each other's skills and talents. This is great. It was very cutthroat. People were not messing around. And I was like, but I thought we were going to hold hands and tell each other you're doing amazing.
I didn't even stretch. This isn't good. I didn't even warm up or stretch or nothing. You guys, I thought we were just going to have fun and pop some balloons against the wall. So I went to the regional competition, and I wasn't the only one who was nominated. A handful of my colleagues and my friends from the musical theater program were also nominated. So a group of us
went together, which was really awesome. And we had this competition in Saginaw, Michigan, and it was a terrible snowstorm, but we drove there anyway. And it was like 3 rounds. So you either go to like the semifinals. I think it's like the first round, the semifinals, and the finals. And I had only made it to the semifinals, which I thought was cool because it was my first time competing. And so as an Irene Ryan nominee, you and your acting partner have 2 contrasting scenes, a comedy and a drama, and then the nominee presents either a monologue or a song. And so that was sort of the package setup, and that was in 2014. 2015 rolls around. And I got nominated again. And I chose my same acting partner, David Baker. David, if you're hearing this, I love you dearly. And
we love you, David.
Thank you, David. And the regional competition was actually held in Cleveland, which is my hometown. And so I was like, oh, this is really cool. I get to go back home for a little bit with this competition. And so there were 2 pairs of us. It was myself, David Baker, and then my dear friend Brett Mutter and his acting partner Greg Grimes. And we were all Irene Ryan nominees. And so we did this acting competition at Playhouse Square in downtown Cleveland, in I think the State Theater probably. And so we did it. And then they start announcing all the winners. Now, if you won the final round of the regional competition for the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival, you and your acting partner were then flown out to DC for a week-long like workshop, play, practice, all this other stuff, and final competition at the Kennedy Center for the national level. So
a huge deal.
They announced the winners for the regional competition at Playhouse Square in Cleveland, and my dear friend Brett Mutter and his acting partner Greg Grimes were the runner-ups, who are also from BG and from the musical theater program. And they announced the first place winner, and it was me and my acting partner David Baker. So of course everyone's like, "What?
This
like,
is rigged.
Who rigged this shit?" I kid you not. People were literally saying this was rigged, and we're like, "There's
or the program
no
is
way.
just good, and we work really hard." I'm just,
So,
maybe we have some talent. I mean,
it's possible. It's quite possible. So, basically, if under any certain, circumstances, I wasn't able to attend the national competition, Brett and Greg would take our place.
Nice.
So David and I were flown out to
so you had to go back
DC.
to Bowling Green first, and then you had to guard your
Yes, I had to go back to Bowling Green first.
Yeah,
Dude,
you had to watch
okay,
out, make sure Brett and Greg didn't poison you or something the whole time in Bowling Green until you could fly out.
It was a pretty dicey time for me. I mean, I had been engaged, a little deep cut. I had been engaged at the time, and then it got called off, and it was a really, really horrible time for me.
Wow.
And
so you needed this good news then.
It was wild. It was the same week as the competition in Cleveland, and I was like, I don't even think I can do this. I'm not sure if my head is going to be in the right space. I might just it might just go to shit. So who knows? Yeah.
Any chance you channeled that energy into the performance?
I did my level best, and I think it gave me a little push.
There you go. Yeah. Was it a dramatic scene? It wasn't a comedic scene, I hope, that kind of thing?
It was, so right?
Pull it.
Right. Yeah. We channeled it.
Yes, channel it.
But yeah. So David and I got flown out to the Kennedy Center, and our professor at the time, Doc Ellison, he was with us and was such a cheerleader and was really, really focused on making sure that, 1, we had fun, and 2, that we were really just sort of grounded in remembering why we were here and why we were chosen.
There you go. Remember that you deserve to be here. You earned this. And by the way, you're from Cleveland and Bowling Green. Don't act like you're a big shot. Just go out there and do your stuff.
Listen,
you're not from LA. Relax.
Okay. Was there.
Come here with your Midwest personas, not your LA attitude. That kind of thing.
Right. But yeah, so we got there and we spent a week, and they were like, we're not going to focus on the competition part until the day of. Nice. And so everyone was like, okay, cool. We have some time. Let's meet other nominees who are here. So essentially, it was 16 of us total representing all regions of the country. And so the pairs of us had all been nominated from doing a production at our university. And we spent the week together. We got to know each other. We did workshops together where they were like, hey, if you're interested in this grant, if you're interested in this scholarship, put your name on this paper. We're going to be observing you all over the week. We pick, who gets a scholarship based off of the things we see you do and your work ethic and blah, blah, blah. Wow. So by the time Friday showed up by the end of this week, we then start rehearsing our competition packages. And I'm feeling okay. David's, getting very excited and a little shaky. And I'm like, honestly, I was like, I don't want to overdo it. I want to trust us. I trust myself. I trust you. And I trust that we have done the work needed to put us in a place of both confidence and humility.
You're already there. You're already there.
That's the point.
You're already good. Point. It's already been confirmed. You're already good. You don't need to think harder than you have to.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I was like, I just want to take the moment to actually celebrate the fact that we got here. And I think it was really, about shifting the focus to that, and just enjoying the opportunity to share the thing that I deeply love. Yeah. And we did the performance, and they started going through all the, awards and other grants and scholarships that people got. I ended up getting awarded like a $500, $700 like voice and speech scholarship from this organization, which was really cool. And then they started going through all of the rankings for the Irene Ryan Acting Award for this portion of the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival, because they do everything under the umbrella of theater, from scenic design, costume, lighting, everything. And so the acting portion was this part of the evening. And so they called the runner-up, and like everybody is cheering their necks off because we were just so happy for anybody who received any accolade, because we knew they deserved it. And it was really telling that everyone who was there was really humble and very genuine. Nobody had a plastic face on, and I was so grateful for that. And they ended up, calling for the first place, the national winner, and they called my name, and I did not hear it. I did not hear it because everyone was screaming, and I was like, who is it? Who is it? Who is it?
No, you were that person in the audience. Like, who is it? Who is it? Looking around. It's me. No, it's not me. That's who you were? Come on.
Oh, God.
They were like, she's still doing her routine out there. Come on.
The cheesiest thing ever. And of course, David's bawling his eyes out. He literally physically has to drag me on stage. And like the whole house is like in an uproar. And it just was so overwhelming, with so much compassion and so much adoration for everyone, and also for the work that David and I had done. And I don't know. I mean, like, most of that night was kind of blotchy. Yeah. It happened real fast. But once it settled down, I just took a minute to like breathe it in and to recognize the feat, and then also like the release of like, okay, I just made a huge milestone for myself in many ways. And I don't ever want to forget this, because it's the first of so many incredible things to come. And I don't know, it really rocked my world. And I'm like, I don't know if anyone else knows how awesome this is, but I always
so hard your whole life really to get that. And this would have been me. I would have taken that little award. I would have walked back to Cleveland. I said, hey, all you little jerks who said it was rigged, you think it's rigged now? That would have been me. See, I would have been like, suck on this rigged. Exactly. But I know you're probably a better person than me, so that's what I would have done.
Sometimes we do go low, but the wild part about it was that back in BG, during the competition, they were in tech rehearsal for Urinetown, the musical. Mm-hmm. And Jonathan Chambers was directing it at the time, and my best friend Greg was the choreographer, and my other friend Brett was the lead. And
the two runner-up guys?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And so we were all like, everybody was really on pins and needles and not really like in the rehearsal space. They're just waiting for a phone call.
Gotcha.
And so
You had to call and say it's a boy, you know, that kind of thing. They're just waiting, huh? They're just waiting.
It was our professor, Doc Ellison, and so he called the head of the musical theater program, Jeff Stevenson, and was like, "It happened.
That's
she
amazing.
won. They won. They did it. Like, this is incredible." And it's just something that I remind myself in a whisper every now and again, like, "Girl, you were named like a top collegiate actress in the country in 2015. Like that's a huge honor and something I always cherish, and I don't ever let myself forget when I feel like I can't or when I feel like I don't really know if it's you know in my wheelhouse to even try."
But you're 10 years after the fact and you're still doing it and you're still working and you're still making it happen. So it's not like you can't sit there and be like, "I don't know, man, if I'm any good at this anymore." And now you're on a national tour of Clue.
Yeah, listen, I mean, that was and then in between, I ended up going to grad school.
Oh, okay.
And that was not planned at all. When I tell you I was done with undergrad, I was done.
Yeah.
And then because of that regional competition at Playhouse Square in downtown Cleveland, the director of Case Western Reserve University's Cleveland Playhouse MFA acting program, the longest title, he spotted me performing and came up to me afterwards and handed me a brochure. And he was like, "I think you should really consider this program."
Well, I'm sure everybody spotted you. You won the dang award, so how could you not be spotted?
And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure." And like my goofy self, I didn't really read it at the time. So I thought it was like summer stock work. And I was like, "This is great. Thanks." And then I read it and I was like, "Oh, shoot, this is grad school." I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I mean, it's something to consider." And I considered it. I auditioned, and this is a wonderful program that is 3 years, full tuition waived, and a stipend.
Wow.
And you walk out with your equity card.
Really?
And yes. And I went through that program all 3 years. And the way I evolved was insane, like in the best way possible. And it really just sort of topped off my like, "Hey, you actually can do this, and you're actually pretty badass at it. And you are fierce enough to do any form of it." And I really, really built a lot of beautiful relationships with artists from all over. And the cohort was only 8 people. And I think that kind of intimidated me a little bit. And I was like, this is a little scary.
So you went right from undergraduate to graduate then? You didn't go in, so you spent another 3 more years and then you got your equity card too coming out of that?
Yeah.
So you brought up summer stock. Did you do summer stock at any of that time when you were in school and at all?
No, I actually...
You didn't do any shows? So you didn't do any professional work outside?
No, I did actually. So I ended up doing a show in the Columbus area in 2017, in Dublin, Ohio, at a theater called Tantrum Theater. Okay. We did a production of Caroline or Change, which was one of my favorite musicals to do by Janine Tesori. Oh my goodness. And why am I blanking on the man's name? Goodness me.
That's okay. You can't remember everything in life. Yeah.
But yeah, that was actually when I got my equity card, which was outside of the program. Okay. And at first I thought I was going to get in trouble for like getting my equity card sooner than later. And they were like, "Nope, like we'll just, we'll adjust some stuff, but like you're more than welcome if this is the opportunity that you want to take to get your equity card, then so be it."
I love this story, by the way. It's so different than everybody. That's why I love all your theater people. All your theater people. Every time somebody calls in, it's so different. Well, I had to wait 7 years. I auditioned, and I finally got a job. I walked right in and I got a job right away. You're like, "I went to grad school, then I did this. I didn't do any summer stock." It's like, what? But you probably did do some work after that, though, right? So after you got your equity card, is summer stock like equity stuff too? I don't know how this works.
I didn't, but I after that show, I had my last year of grad school, and within my last year of grad school, you have the opportunity to that's when you're supposed to get your equity card. So you do one last show with your cohort of 8, because those 2 years prior, it's just you're 8 people doing shows together, and then you do a main stage at Cleveland Playhouse. And so I had an option, and it was like, "Hey, you can understudy this show, not get paid, and then do this other show, get cast and get paid." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll do both. I'll do the one that I'm understudying where I'm not on stage and I don't need to get paid for that because I probably won't ever go on. And I didn't, thank God, but it was still scary. And then I did the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee at Cleveland Playhouse.
Oh, who'd you play?
I played Logan Schwartz in Groovenier, and she literally was me, but with a lisp at 8 or 9 years old. And it was fabulous, and that was actually one of the biggest highlights, one of the biggest highlights, being at Cleveland Playhouse. But I got to be on stage with Ali Stroker, Tony Award-winning Ali Stroker, who was the first female actress to use a wheelchair in her portrayal of Ado Annie in Oklahoma on Broadway when they revived it. Gotcha. She was in it. Kay Trinidad Carnes, who was one of the original Fates in Hadestown on Broadway, was in the show. Wow. And but these things had not happened yet. So looking back on it, I'm like, these people are incredible. They're phenomenal. And
so you're on stage with these people. I think that's always funny too. Cause you're on stage with these people and you're like, these guys are incredible. I can't believe how good they're going to be on Broadway. It's like, that good. That's because they're already Broadway. That's how they're going to be this good. You're like, you're on a national tour. They're on doing Broadway stuff. National tour, I count as Broadway too. It's like, you're all doing all these things, and it's like, hey, you thought they were good for a reason because they are. It's like, no wonder.
Yeah. And then I graduated. I went to I did a showcase with my grad school program where we did a bicoastal showcase, which meant we did a showing in New York and then a showing in LA. And that was a ton of fun. And I got some really great responses and feedback from different agencies and producers and whatnot. I mean, a fun fact about this whole experience, one of them being I actually ended up having a meeting with Warner Brothers, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And I went on the Warner Brothers lot and I was like, oh, this is real. Like, this is a real place. It's not on my TV screen. Got it. Right. And then at that point, I mean, after I graduated from grad school, I started working with the Musical Theater Project in Cleveland with their education program called Kids Love Musicals, where we taught musicals as a curriculum for elementary school students, which was incredible and
which
a
would
wonderful
have been a total program you would have done in Cleveland, right? Yeah, you would have been in this program.
And then I ended up doing Ragtime, the musical at King Park in Cleveland in 2019. And then I got an audition at Cleveland Playhouse. I got invited to audition for Clue at Cleveland Playhouse in September of 2019. And the next day I got another invite to audition for Antigone. And I was like, these are
people are sending you invites? Are they just
auditioning? I was like, this is cool.
Is this through like an agent or something, or are they just looking you up on YouTube?
This is casting. They're casting team. So I'm like, okay, great.
How though? I don't understand this. What do you mean how? Like, nobody's sending me any invites. How are you getting invites? How?
I think through the arts hub of Greater Cleveland that. After becoming an equity actor, you might be able to have certain rosters, but that also goes for non-union too, where you're able to, show where you've been participating across the area, and the relationships you're able to maintain with people that you choose to maintain.
There you go. So these places basically see that you are a working professional. You've done a good job. You actually know what you're doing. They're like, hey, let's bring her in. Let's give her an audition then. She's not just some bum on the street that I have to worry about. She's actually a professional. We'll bring her in. And she's got a little bit of work behind her that has proven that she's already done some stuff and we can trust her. So let's bring her in.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. Gotcha. I'm just trying to figure some stuff out here because I was getting a little offended I didn't get an invite. So I'm just making sure.
I will make sure you get an invite.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
But I did the audition and I remember meeting
I'm starting
Casey
to think the
Hudson.
thing's rigged. I'm just saying,
A lot of people have said that, Kyle. A lot of people have said that. It's fine. I understand where it's coming from. I did it, and I auditioned I got a call back for Clue, and the director was like, how do you feel about, throwing your body to the ground? And I was like, oh, you mean the thing that I've just been trying to do my whole life? Just being a human mop. It's fine. And the audition was incredibly fun. And then I got the audition for Antigone, and that one, I wasn't I don't know. I was in a different headspace, and I really wanted to be Antigone.
Wait. Is this not the Clue that you're in now? This is a different Clue?
This is the same Clue.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. So this was 2019, and the production of Clue, a new comedy written by Sandy Rustin, directed by Casey Hushin, made its world premiere of this script that we're touring with now, essentially, made its world premiere at Cleveland Playhouse in January of 2020, actually on my birthday.
Oh, nice.
And we even added shows because it was selling out so well. And we did it right before the pandemic started. And then the lineup, it was supposed to be Clue, Antigone, and then I think like A Doll's House Part 2, and all of that got canceled. But the beautiful part was that I had gotten an offer to be Antigone at Cleveland Playhouse. And so we ended up starting rehearsals right after Clue closed, and then it got shut down. And so I want to say maybe a year and a half and some change later in 2022, I get an email from the artistic director at Cleveland Playhouse and was like, would you consider remounting your role? Like we really want you to come back. And so in 2022, I got to headline a show at Cleveland Playhouse, which was really beautiful. And it was probably one of the most mammoth roles I've ever played. And it really just gave me like a huge confidence check mark of like, remember the thing you thought you couldn't do? You did it.
Wow.
You did it.
I gotta say, so this is all from this little 8-year-old girl who said she wanted to do this. That's the way I look at it. You were like, you got a little bit older and older and older. You're like, I don't really think I want to do anything else. I'll sing on the street, Mom. Please let me do this for college. And she was like, we'll see.
Right.
We'll see if you are actually driven. Ha ha. Turns out you are. No, I'm sure they're dying. I'm sure they're dying with pride right now and everything that you've accomplished, you know. You give them a call, Mom, I got this role in Clue. Mom, I got this. You know,
listen.
I'm sure they were dying.
Every day. I mean, it was multiple dreams come true in different ways. I love comedy. I love physical comedy, and I also love drama. Like the setup of that season was actually really, really cool because it gave you like slapstick comedy followed by a Greek tragedy. Like if that isn't theater, I don't know what else is.
Yeah.
Like,
and you being
just,
able to have to go from one role to a different role and just turn it on and off. That's crazy too. That is amazing. Yeah. We should probably talk about Clue, right?
Yes.
Yes, let's talk about Clue, shall we? What is this show? Because this is one of the shows I haven't seen before. And I know it obviously is based on the board game, but there's got to be a whole lot to it than I'm aware of.
Okay, so Clue is based on the 1950s board game. So if you have the board game somewhere in your house, please feel free to take it out, dust it off, and or just pull it out from where you probably had it the night before if you're a Clue fan. And it got turned into a film in the 1980s with Tim Curry, Madeline Kahn, Christopher Lloyd. I mean, like, this was a star-studded, comedian star-studded cast.
I know Doc Brown was in this show, and it's like just ridiculous. Yes.
And it became a cult classic. Like if you're thinking Rocky Horror Picture Show cult classic, this is that. And it's set around the 1950s because that's when the board game was released. And so we're looking at the era of McCarthyism and the Red Scare and communism and like.
Yeah, just for the youngsters out there, that means that they were hunting down people in the country thinking that they were all communists. So there we go.
Right. They were like, there's one thing at the top of this show that a lot of people have really tuned their ears into. And I don't want to give it away when people come to see it at the Stranahan, but, there's a voiceover at the beginning that basically sort of clues you into the political atmosphere. And friends, we're not that far off. So, but anyway, we start off in Boddy Manor, and it's a huge mansion, and there are 6 people who are invited to this dinner, and they are all there for reasons of blackmail. And at one point or another, based on their activities in their personal life, they are trying to keep it a secret, and they don't know who their blackmailer is is all they know is that they've been paying a large sum of money to keep their information quiet. And they're also trying to avoid, any additional public or government involvement. So the night goes on, and basically they kind of get swindled into either paying more or silencing a certain someone to make sure that they don't ever have to pay the blackmailer again. And at this point, lights go off and chaos happens.
And then we're not going to stop talking about it. We're going to stop talking about it because we're going to make people come and see the show. This is a murder mystery comedy, correct?
It is.
Okay,
yes,
so that's the whole thing I wanted to
yes.
get out there is that it's so
Yes.
think of the game. Obviously, the game is all about trying to figure out who killed somebody with a candlestick or whatever. It's a whodunit. But then it's a show with music and songs that are all and then fun times. That's the whole thing I wanted to get out there.
That's the correct way to put it. This is a show. This is a play with music. It is not a musical. And there is no intermission. It's 80 minutes. And when I tell you it flies by, it flies by. So whatever is on the website.
So nobody gets up from nobody gets up from the audience. You all go use the facilities ahead of time, sit down, enjoy an 80-minute straight show then.
I mean, unless you want to be the next victim, but you didn't hear that from me. So.
Now, does this have multiple endings? I've heard rumors that Clue has different kinds of endings on it.
No, we stay very true to the film, so there's no nothing like the film in that way.
Okay, I wasn't sure. If if you went to see the show and it was Colonel Mustard who did the killing, and the next time it's going to be Professor Plum.
Oh no,
it
stays the same every single.
All right, whew. Okay. I didn't know if you had to learn 6 different endings to this show, and that was
heavens, no.
I was going to be so impressed. Now I'm only mildly impressed. No. All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. By the way, everybody listening is May 6th. Okay, so let's make sure we go and see this show at the Stranahan. I loved how you just kind of slightly dropped the Stranahan in there because you're very familiar with it. I thought that was you were like, it's at the Stranahan? And I was like, it's at the Stranahan. All right. So it's May 6th through the 11th, so make sure everybody gets in there and gets their tickets because my understanding, and I'm sure you're aware of this all the time in the Toledo area, man, we don't mess. We don't mess with ticket sales to come see shows. So this is probably going to be another situation where the house is going to be packed. So make sure you get out there and get these tickets now, everybody, okay? Go to Stranahan and get your tickets directly, okay? I thank you again for coming on. You were so amazing. I love that you told me your entire life. I love it. No, that's what I want. I
was going to say, I was hoping you would want to hear about it.
I do. I'm going to hang up and call you back and hear more, actually. So it's amazing. Thank you for coming on, though. Loved having you.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Yep, bye.
Bye.